Okay, good news for fans of tarot and fans of the 70s. We have a rare find on the show this week. This is a thing which is popularly known as the Hoi Polloi tarot. It was just marketed as tarot in the old days, but it was made by a company calling itself the Hoi Polloi Company. It says Romany Merchandise Corporation there, but on the cards it says copyright 1972, Hoi Polloi, New York City, Hoi Polloi Inc. So that's why it's called the Hoi Polloi. I've been coveting this tarot for many years because, as you can see, it's a strange beast. It's a close redrawing of the Rider-Waite-Smith. I mean, a retracing really, almost a colouring in. But it hauls in a lot of 1970s aesthetic. So in some ways it's the Holy Grail. It gives us as like a cross between the Rider-Waite-Smith and, for example, the Aquarian Tarot. You have elements of the 1970s obsession with Art Deco running through the whole thing. So it's a kind of Art Deco 70s nightclub version of the Rider-Waite-Smith. You've got these rounded corners everywhere. You've got Art Deco, rounded 70s deco clouds in the background. You've got these rounded cartouches, if that's the right word, down here. And then on top of it all, you've got this very surprising choice of the Gothic lettering. Now, I've always thought this was an incredibly cool tarot, and I thought it would make me look good. And then recently I saw it online, and I had been selling some decks. I felt I deserved it, which is always a rather a dangerous concept, isn't it? I thought to myself, I'm worth it. My channel's worth it. Look at that. That is total 70s deco. And when I was a kid, this kind of madness, this kind of deco madness was very much the order of the day. And, you know, as young teenagers, we were just crazy for it. And we thought that was the height of fun to do lettering like that. And we would do it freehand. We would sit for hours doing funny deco lettering. So, you know, it's now very sought after. 20 years ago, you could pick this up for $20. Now it changes hands for about $100 or euros, give or take. You know, there are some people sell it for more, but that seems to be its market value on eBay. And there's a guy I follow, he's very cool. I think he's somewhere on the west coast of America. He calls himself Bathhouse Mystic, and he's this rather risque tarot reader, rather sexually explicit tarot reader, and he uses the Hoi Polloi, and I thought, oh gosh, that's so cool. I wish I was as cool as him. Now I've got it. So we'll have a look at it. I think the people who made it made board games and toys, and so it really is very tacky. I'll just confess at the beginning of this video that I'm surprised at how tacky it is, and there's a part of me that, you know that I appreciate kitsch and I appreciate popular vernacular things. But this is actually, amazingly enough, this is testing my appreciation of kitsch a little bit. It's tackier than I thought it would be. There we got our pink and our orange color scheme. Can't really complain with that. And you know, the box is not in terribly good condition, so it's a bit sad. It reminds me of an old toy from my childhood that has been in a cupboard for many years. We've got a little white book, a medium-sized white book, which is fun for a laugh. You know, we might as well have a quick look at it because there's so much about it that's wrong. Man has always been fascinated by the mystery of what the future holds, etc., etc. Tarot, which rhymes with pharaoh, I didn't know that, is an anagram of the Latin word rotar, meaning wheel, with an added T. This is pure. This is the kind of madness which led to 78 Degrees of Wisdom. It's like tarot is an anagram of rotar with an added T. In other words, tarot isn't an anagram of rotar because it lacks the second T. The origins of the tarot cards are lost in the mists of the Middle Ages. Well, not really. They're slightly lost in the mists of the early Renaissance. Possibly even earlier. No, not possible. The mysterious cards with their suggestive symbols and arcane meanings spread throughout Europe. They were used both for predicting the future, usually by fortune tellers, who were believed blessed with supernatural gifts in interpreting the cards, and for games. Tarot cards were in fact the forerunner of modern day playing cards. Well, no, they weren't. Playing cards were the forerunner of tarot, but this booklet was cobbled together by some people in the marketing department of a board games company, so fair dinkum. What we want to do is look at the cards themselves. So, as I say, here we have the 78 cards. As you can see, they're quite yellowed with time. That's a nice detail. Let's look at them 3 by 3. Oh, that's the title card. We get 2 title cards, and I got 4 blank cards, so I can have, the squirrel card, can't I? And I could have 4 female knights, couldn't I? Or 4 non-binary pages. I think I was attracted by the colours, and the colours are nice. And what I'm getting from having possessed this for about a week or two is I'm getting mixed feelings because of the quality of the execution. Now, this I think is a very nice execution of the King of Cups, a bit dark. This, on the other hand, this 3 of Cups, even though one can enjoy the flowing Art Deco robes or whatever that is it Nouveau or Deco or just 70s? But the way the background has been cut out is a bit brutal. I like these white backgrounds. They're very much part of the aesthetic that they bring us to the territory of the Aquarian tarot, which has areas of white. But it can be brutal, and the simplification can be brutal. I mean, look, Queen of Pentacles, where's the bunny? There's a nice purple colour going through this deck. But here, 4 of Wands, the simplification of the background is, I think, really brutal there, because sure, the sky can be cut out and turned into white, but then the landscape needs to be simplified into black, and then you've got this weird cut between the black and the white. It's not terribly, that card I don't like, actually. The World card, fantastic. Animal heads. Demented lion, jolly bull, slightly demented eagle, and a heavy rock, Aquarius. Okay, not a lot of salamanders in the King of Wands there. A brutal simplification of the 2 of Cups, and a fun tower. A nice emperor. Nice High Priestess. 9 of Wands. Fair enough. Now, this is worrying me, this card here, because of what's happening inside the infinity symbol with these blocks of black. That's worrying me a little bit because the face has been really rather destroyed. And then I like that one. I'm critical where this, when they get themselves into a mess over the simplification of the background. I mean, in that one it works quite well, doesn't it, with these Art Deco clouds and Art Deco rain. And that's just about okay, that one. And the sun and the moon are a bit borderline with their faces, but I think that's still fun there. And that's fun because the colours are fun. Maybe I should just not comment. Most of these are fun 70s nonsense. I also want to just like have my say about copyright. That these cards are known as being, you know, that made in the halcyon days of non-copyright enforcement. In other words, they were the last time before, you know, this is 1972, this is just before US game systems started to enforce what they felt was their copyright on the Rider-Waite-Smith. If you Google it, if you look at the sort of legal discussions about this, it is certainly arguable that US game systems didn't own the copyright on the Rider-Waite-Smith. They actually only owned the copyright on the back of the Rider-Waite-Smith. They didn't own the copyright on the designs. That's what is said. And so basically they enforced this alleged copyright just from having more expensive lawyers than anyone else. And so for a while, no one was allowed to recolor the RWS without it being US game systems. And then Lo Scarabeo in Italy challenged it, and they recolored the RWS, and I think they came to some sort of settlement with US game systems. But this is in the glorious days when tarot wasn't really terribly popular, and people just, you know, dived in and jumped on the bandwagon. The cards are a bit darker than I thought. I thought they would be bright and breezy. It's partly because they faded over time. I mean, what I would say is, you know, this is an absolute pleasure to be handling an analog product. We live in horrible digital times where nothing is real. Even paper isn't real anymore, or it's, you know, it's coated in plastic. And these are really printed on paper, they're properly printed, and, you know, they're real. So that, needless to say, is a huge pleasure. That's not a bad Ten of Swords when you consider that Pamela kind of made a bit of a pig's breakfast of her 10. And that's a pretty good Empress, isn't it? Here's a 2. The aces are fun. Devil's a load of laughs, as you would hope from the 70s. And here you have the rather alarming Moon card. It's funny, like if there's a card in a tarot that I really think is over the top, I hesitate before using the tarot. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if I will use this deck. Maybe I'll just be a speculator and you know, sit on it for a couple of years and then pop it back onto eBay and buy something else. But we shall see. I'll try. I'll do my best. That's quite a nice warm orange Temperance, isn't it? And then there's this rather alarming Ten of Cups that looks like a jukebox. And also on top of looking like a jukebox, it's got large areas of black. So it's not the jolliest Ten of Cups. And there's also something that people point out about this deck, that the queens, the kings and all the other court cards are fine, but the queens have had their heads shrunk for some reason. Maybe to make them look more feminine, do you think? Maybe it was a part of living in the 70s that ladies were meant to have small heads. But this queen's head has definitely been shrunk. The RWS Queen of Wands has a bigger head and actually a bigger jaw. It's one of the Ellen Terry heads, isn't it? It's an androgynous woman there in the RWS. Queen of Cups there. Either her head's been shrunk or the cup. The cup has been simplified and it's no longer the Holy Grail. In Pamela's version, it looks a bit giant, but at least it looks like it has a reason for being that big. And that just looks like she's holding a cup, but she has shrunk and the cup is still a cup. And I'm not sure, it might be that the Queen of Swords has survived. I'll see if I can find the Queen of Coins. We saw the Queen of Coins, didn't we, with the bunny? Or without the bunny, should I say. Now, Pamela's Queen is bigger anyway because the cartouche is smaller. Apart from the simplification of the dress, I think that's fair enough. And also there's no bird in the Hoi Polloi. I don't think the head has been shrunken. But this is the one that people notice. I think what's happened perhaps is that the Hoi Polloi corrected the jaw, because the Hoi Polloi guy, and I have the feeling the Hoi Polloi guy or guy S took about 2 weeks over this. It looks very rushed. And as you know, this Pamela's Queen of Battens is based on Ellen Terry, and Ellen Terry was androgynous and she had a big jaw. So Hoi Polloi reduces the jaw and gives her a slightly shrunken head look. Is that head looks a bit smaller? And where's the bunny gone? The Queen herself looks smaller compared to her pentacle. I don't know. There's something about the whole thing. She seems to occupy less space. Queen of Cups. Now this might be just an optical illusion because this cup is a bit hulking, isn't it? Whereas this cup, it is big, it's really big, but it looks like it has a function, like it's a ceremonial object, which the Queen is just about holding. In this one, she's holding some sort of weird stage prop, and as I say, it makes her look like she has shrunk. So yeah, there you go. So this is a treasure. It has survived. It's never really been reproduced in facsimile version. There's a thing called I think the Moon Baby Tarot, which is close to being a facsimile reissue, but it's rather weird in that it considers the designer of the Moon Baby Tarot. I haven't held it in my hands, but I've seen it online, and it seems to think that the Hoi Polloi Tarot is not 70s enough, or at least the Moon Baby draws it all together into this, I want to say, sort of tokenistic 70s design thing. I suppose what it is that if you were alive and conscious in the 70s, then you remember that the 70s was very mixed and very inconsistent and was a sort of a battle of a lot of different design ideas, and which is exactly what you see in these cards. I mean, you know, you got Art Deco and High Victorian, Middle-Age Gothic, all in one concept. And I think we now live in an age where, you know, it's the age of Netflix. We're very good at doing fake versions of this and fake versions of that. So if we do the fake 70s, we research it and we make it look very 70s. But actually what's interesting is that, you know, for example, if I see a modern movie set in the 70s or a Netflix show set in the 70s, it never looks anything like the 70s, because the 70s didn't look like the 70s. The 70s looked like a chaos of design with some recognizably, with some designs that have survived as being iconic 70s ideas. But it wasn't an orgy of 70s-ism at the time, okay? I'm going to see if I really like reading with these. If I don't, I shall just be the person who looks after them. And I might be the person who sells them on. We shall see. I think to be cynical about it, they would probably make me look good if I use them on my channel. But should we be thinking in those terms, ladies and gentlemen? Should we be thinking in those terms? I'm Robert Farrer. This is Tea and Tara. And I'll be back next week with more of this stuff. Bye.